My name is Jaleesa Prince, and today I represent pregnant teens.
My name is Melissa, and I was actually representing a person with leukemia.
My name is Kate Greenlow, and today I was silent for women in the workforce.
I represent parents with pregnant teens and parents.
Today, I represented people who have schizophrenia.
I was also representing
And I was an HIV positive individual.
This is the kind of post-program discussion about, what happened today, if you want to share.
It's kind of a way to immediately realize what it's like for even people who have voices in society, speak different languages and stuff. If you can't communicate in the way that you used to, you almost have to try to find some other way. It's impossible not to communicate with people around you, it seems like.
And the hardest part I found was basically just not speaking at all. The only time I spoke today was to my dad, and that's right, because I couldn't think of it to him, but I can't really talk to you right now. But I think the hardest part of this was just not speaking, because when I went to my last class today, a lot of people saw that I had a shirt, and I was only wearing my class and participating in solidarity. And it's some people would just speak, knowing that I couldn't say anything, so they would just say stuff to me okay, wait, what's the answer to this? And I'm I can't talk, leave me alone. So I just kind of felt how a pregnant teenager would feel, because I feel that a lot of people look at pregnant teens differently just because they're pregnant, and a lot of people feel well, why are you pregnant? You're wasting your life, you can go to school. So I just kind of felt how a pregnant teen feels because they really don't have anything to say sometimes.
And what I found the most surprising is I worked up in the reading center all day today, and the amount of people that would just start talking to me, and I'm do you not see? And they just would stand there, are you okay? And I'm here's my shirt, and I'd give them my card, and they would still continue to talk to me. I have a small background in sign language, so I was able to at least do a few things today, but I honestly didn't find it as hard not to talk. It was feeling awkward by not being able to reply back to those people who are asking questions.
First of all, I was so happy that I got the opportunity to be silent for women in the workforce, because not only does that affect me personally, it affects my mom. Right now, our country is going through an economic recession, and she is telling me how hard it is when all the men that she works with are earning more, and they do the exact same job that she does, and she doesn't get the same wages. And I found that just to be completely unfair.
When you're in class and you give your opinion, you're yeah, I just made a difference because I'm right and I just made my opinion. It was really hard to sit and view everything happening without your own impact, kind of. I don't know if that makes sense, but not knowing that you're making an impact on other people kind of hurt, oh, I don't even matter, I'm insignificant and stuff.
Renee was saying earlier, we're mentioning lots of different groups and our personal experiences, but I'm really curious about, as you throw out the different groups, what do you think their experience is on a daily basis?
I think it's rough because my brother, he has autism and he can't speak at all. Like she was saying, he thought that she couldn't speak, period, but he can't speak at all. He has no verbal communication whatsoever, and that really inspired me to keep quiet because it really made me feel, I wouldn't say bad, but it made me feel sad because I only had to do it from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But my brother, he's been doing it for his whole entire life. He's 17 years old. He's never had an actual conversation with anyone because he has no communication. And it has to be very, very frustrating. And now I kind of understand sometimes why he has specific outbursts towards me or towards our parents, because sometimes he just gets frustrated because when we sit at the dinner table, he can't go in on a conversation, or he can't say, well, I want this, or I think this, and it's I think it's real frustrating because it's that's permanent, that's all you have.
As you're going through and you're representing your groups today, how do you feel that the people that you interact with every day adjusted to what you were going through, and how do you think that they supported you in your efforts today?
And it was more they just kind of looked past me. It's almost they didn't even acknowledge that I was there almost. And at really relates to your question exactly, but the way that I kind of view it as, like in Founders, we have a lot of wheelchair-bound people, and I feel like people don't really look at them like fully as people. They just kind of like look past them or look, you know what I mean? Like they don't look at them like as people. They just kind of, oh, I'm not supposed to make fun of them, so I'm just gonna act like they're not there or something.
I think that my biggest supporter was my mom. I told her when I first heard about silent solidarity, and she's like, that sounds really interesting, and I was like, I definitely think so. She's like, it's going to be a challenge for you because you're kind of a chatterbox, and I was like, well, you're right, but I'm going to do it because I want the challenge. That's actually why, that was the reason I wrote my card, because I wanted a challenge, and because the issue affected me personally. She was my biggest supporter, and she said, and it really made me happy. She's like, you know, I support what you do, and you've made me so proud at college. And I was like, oh, thanks.
And one of the grad students happened to come into the office, and she had asked me a question, and I just kind of looked at her, and she kept talking, and I was pointing to my shirt, and she goes, oh, so what are you representing? And I handed her my card, and she actually was very receptive and responsive in that, you know, I'm very, you know, I've heard about this, I can't do it myself, I haven't been able to do that, but she goes, I am very surprised that you have taken the initiative to sit and not say anything, and so she goes, I'm glad you're actually taking it seriously, because I guess she's come across people that can take it as seriously, so that made me feel very supportive, and then the rest of the people in the office just kind of went about the rest of the day on their own business, but then at least I was acknowledged, so it kind of made me feel better that if something were really to happen, that I know that if I were to go back to work, they would really be there for me.
So this year being like my 4th year doing it, I tried not to do any kind of like charade type things. So like for lunch, this is gonna sound like really like stupid, but instead of like miming like, oh, I want like turkey or whatever, like even though I wanted something, I had to like settle for like some crappy sandwich that's pre-made so I can just grab it. And I know it doesn't like seem that big of a deal, but it was hard to like settle for something because you know you couldn't have something else. I don't know if that like.
I happened to be in Chicago for the Prop 8 protest during it, so I kind of walked along, and this is so loud. People just like yelling the whole time. But then, like, all that noise, and yet, you know, is anything going to happen? So I think a lot of the reason people are silent about these issues are they know nothing's going to happen.
Some people just say something to say something, and not necessarily to make a difference or to put an opinion out there. And it made me really think about my mannerisms and do I really say something worthwhile? Do I really benefit conversations, or am I just saying something and breaking silence or just telling a stupid joke just for the fact to make noise? And I think that there's a really great parallel between silence and noise and actual conversation. And I think that after this, I'm going to try to make an effort to make more actual conversation and less noise.